Hello and welcome to our JAMB Mathematics Past Question for 2023 Solution Part 3. If you've not watched the previous two parts, I will encourage you to do so as I've already addressed 20 questions relating to this year. The link to those videos are in the description. Now, in this video, we're going to be solving the next 10 questions, and as I walk through them, if you have any question, please drop them in the comments and I'll do well to get to them as soon as I can. I've also included links to tutorial videos relating to the questions I'll be addressing so you can further explore those topics. And finally, if you're not subscribed to this channel, please do so now and give this video a big thumbs up. So without further ado, let's get started solving the JAMB Mathematics Past Question for 2023 Part 3. So question 21 asks us to calculate the mean derivation of the first 5 prime numbers. So we know that the mean derivation, formula for the mean derivation is given at summation of x minus x bar over n, where x bar is the mean. Now we're told to find the mean derivation of the first prime numbers. So the first thing we need to do is to figure out what the first 5 prime numbers are. So remember, prime numbers are numbers that are divisible by 1 and themselves, and the first 5 numbers starts from 2. So the first 5 prime numbers are 2, 3, 5, 7 and 11. So we have to calculate what is the mean of these first 5 numbers. So that will be x bar. So you know the formula for calculating the mean. We just need to add all these numbers up and divide it by the total numbers that we have. So that is just going to be what? 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7 plus 11 divided by 5, and that is equals to be 28 over 5, and that is 5.6. So we found our mean, which is 5.6 and which is x bar. So this becomes, we need to find the difference between x minus x bar, meaning each of our number minus our mean, and we need to sum them up. That is what the summation sign means. And we have to find the absolute value, which is what this 2 bar represents. So to start with, we're going to start with our first number, which is 2, and we're going to take away the mean, which is 5.6. Then we have to add, then we do the same for all the numbers. The next number is 3, then take away the mean, 5.6, then plus, next number is 5, take away 5.6, and the next number is 7, take away 5.6, and the final number is what? Is 11, take away 5.6. And we need to divide all those numbers by what? By the total numbers that we have. And how many numbers do we have altogether? We have just 5 numbers to deal with. So this is going to be divided by what? 5. Now 2 take away 5.6 is what? Is minus 3.6. Minus 3.6. Then plus 3 take away 5.6 is minus 2.6. 5 take away 5.6 is minus 0.6. 7 take away 5.6 is 1.4. And 11 take away 5.6 is 5.4. So now, what is the meaning of this absolute sign that we have over here, or those 2 vertical bars? So the meaning of this absolute bars, or these 2 bars, means that we take the positive number of this subtraction. So in this case, but that means we're going to take the absolute value or the non-negative number. So minus 3.6, the non-negative value of minus 3.6 is going to be 3.6, or in other words, we just disregard the negative sign. So that becomes plus 2.6, and that is what those 2 vertical bars mean. So that becomes plus 0.6 plus 1.4, because we are taking just the positive values, and plus 5.4, and we have to divide them all by what? By 5. Now when you sum up those numbers at the top, you get 13.6 divided by 5, and that becomes what? 2.72. So the mean derivation of the first 5 prime number is 2.72, and that makes A the correct option. Moving on to the next, we are told that, or we are asked that let a binary operation star be defined on a set A. The operation will be commutative if, now I've included a link to this video that talks about binary operation and the different kind of operations that can be performed on them. So now, commutative is a really interesting term, and what commutative means in general is that if you change the order of the operation, that the result is going to be the same. So for example, let me give an example. If you have, say, the number 2 plus 5, for example, is the same thing as having the number 5 plus 2, and that is because 2 plus 5 is going to give you 7, and what 5 plus 2 is going to give you 7. But now think about it. If you have, say, 2 minus 5, is 2 minus 5 the same thing as 5 minus 2 when you change the order? Definitely not, because 2 minus 5 is minus 3 and 5 minus 2 is 3, and these numbers are not the same. So in that sense, we say that addition is commutative because when you change the order, the result is still going to be the same. But subtraction is not commutative. Similarly, multiplication is commutative because if you have, let's say, for example, 2 times 5 is going to be the same thing as 5 times 2. 2 times 5 is 10, 5 times 2 is 10. But division is not commutative because 2 divided by 5 is not the same thing as 5 divided by 2. So commutative again just means that changing the order of the operation would not affect the result. So in that sense, the operation, but now we're talking about a binary operation. This is just giving an example using operations like, like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. But in general, we can say that a binary operation star will be commutative. If one will change the order, the result is going to be the same. So in that sense, that means that A star B is equals to B star A. So that makes A the correct option. If you want to get more clarity on the different properties of binary operation, I will encourage you to watch the link in the description that I've put in to further explore that. So moving on to question 23, we're told that in a group of 500 people, 350 can speak English, 400 can speak French. How many people can speak both languages? Now this is a classic set question, and the best way to address it first is by drawing a Venn diagram. So now in our Venn diagram, we have two languages to contend with. We have English and we have French. So English and French. Now I thought that English is spoken by what? 350 people. And French is spoken by what? Is spoken by 400 people. And the total number of group that we have is what? We have 500 people in general. So now, you see that if you add the number of English speakers and the number of French speakers directly, 350 plus 400, you are getting 750, which is definitely more than 500. So why is that the case? It's because these 350 represent those that speak English alone and those that speak English and French. Same thing with the French. These 400 values represent those that speak French alone and those that speak French and English, which is in this box. So the first thing we'll do is that let those that speak both languages be represented as X. So we can label this tiny box in here as X. So if you know that both people that speak both languages are X, then those that speak English alone will be those that speak English and French, which is 350, then minus those that speak both languages, 350 minus X. So those that speak English alone will be 350 minus X, and those that speak French alone in the same vein is going to be what? 400 minus X. So now we know that those that speak English alone, those that speak French alone, plus those that speak both languages must be equals to 500. So we can write that out. So we write that out as what? 350 minus X, which is those that speak English alone, plus those that speak both languages, plus those that speak French alone must be equals to 500. So we collect like times, this cancels out this, and we're left with 350 plus 400 gives me what? 750 minus X is equals to 500. So I can collect like times, bring X to this side and bring 500 to this side. So 750 minus 500 is equals to X. So X is just equals to 750 minus 500, and that is what? 215. So the number of people that speak both languages, which is what we called X, is 250, and that makes option C the correct option. For more clarity on Venn diagrams and sets, check out my tutorial video included in the link in the description of this video. Moving on to the next, We are told to find the area to the nearest centimeter square of a triangle whose sides are in the ratio 2, 3 and 4. So what does that mean? Imagine we have a triangle. A triangle is a shape with 3 sides. Now this is the triangle that we have, and let's call the sides A, B and C. For example, we are being told that A ratio B ratio C is what 2 ratio 3 ratio 4. That means when I divide both sides, they are going to be in the ratio of 2, 3 and 4. So that means this can be in the multiple, or what this means is that the actual length can be multiples of any of these numbers. What do I mean by that? So that means the length of this triangle can either be 2, 3 and 4. If I multiply all through by 2, it can also be 4, 6 and 8, because when you simplify this, it still gives you a ratio of 2, 3, 4. It can also be multiplying this by 2 again. It can also be a ratio of 8, 12, 16, because when you simplify all of this, you still get a ratio of 2, 3 and 4. What does that mean? But we do not know which of this it is. But we know that in general, that the actual length can be written as a ratio of 2x, 3x and 4x, because whatever the value of x is, if x is 1, then the lengths are 2, 3 and 4. If it's 5, then they both increase by the same multiple, so their ratio is still going to be ratio of 2, 3 and 4. So we can say that this will be the actual length. So we can say A is 2x, B is 3x and C is 4x, and we are told that the perimeter is 180. Now perimeter is the sum of the length of this triangle. So we are being told that A plus B plus C is equals to 180, and we've told that A can be written as 2x, B is 3x and C is 4x. So 2x plus 3x plus 4x equals to 180, and that becomes 9x is equals to 180, and x just be 180 divided by 9, and that is equals to 20. So that means the actual length of the triangle is just going to be 2 times x. So you have 2 times 40. The second length is 3 times 20, 60, and the last one is just going to be 4 times 20, 80. So the actual length of the sides are 40 centimeter, 60 centimeter and 80 centimeter. But the question is not asking us to calculate the length. Instead, we are told to find the area. Now, when we know the length of our sides of a triangle, the way we find the area is by using the Aaron's formula. And the Aaron's formula is applicable when you know the length of the sides of the triangle. So the Aaron's formula says that the area of a triangle is given as the square root of s times s minus a times s minus b times s minus c, where s is the semi-perimeter, s is the semi-perimeter. And what is the semi-perimeter? Semi-perimeter just means half of the perimeter. In this case, we are told that the perimeter is 180, so the semi-perimeter is 180 divided by 2, and that is what? And that is 90. And A, B and C represent the lengths of the triangle. So those become the square root of what? Becomes the square root of 90 times 90 minus the first side is 40. You have 90 minus 60, which is the length of the second side, and 90 minus 80. So the area becomes the square root of 90 into bracket 90 minus 40 is 50, 90 minus 60 is 30, and 90 minus 80 is 10. Now when you multiply these three numbers together, you get 135. You get 135,000, and the square root of that number 1.35 million is 1161.89 centimeter squared, and approximating it to the nearest number just becomes 1162 centimeter square, and that makes option A the correct option. Moving on to the next question, we are told to determine the area of the region bounded by 2x squared plus 10 and y is equals to 4x plus 16. So how do we go about solving the equation like this? This is one of the classic application of integration, which is finding the area underneath the curve. So to represent this diagrammatically, although I'm not going to be sketching this graph to scale, just imagine you have a quadratic function, and the first quadratic function is something like this, because you have an x square opponent, and the second is what is a straight line. So you have something like this, which is this curve represents the y is equals to x squared plus 10, and the straight line represents the y equals to 4x. I want to find the area between both of these bounded by this region. Now, how do we do that? First, we need to find what this intersection point of the line and the curve is. And the way we find the intersection point is by equating those two equations together, because you know that when we equate these two equations together, that at the point of x are going to be equal. So what do I mean? So if I equate both sides together, I have what 2x squared plus 10 must be equals to 4x plus 16 at the intersection point. So at intersection point. So what we need to do now is to address this. So collecting like times, we have 2x squared, we have minus 4x plus 10 minus 16 must be equals to 0. So simplifying this, we have 2x squared minus 4x minus 6 is equals to 0. Dividing all through by 2, I have what x squared minus 2x minus 3 is equals to 0. Now I factorize because this is a quadratic equation. Multiplying this times this, I have minus 3x squared. And what two numbers can I multiply together to get minus 3x squared? But when I sum them together, I get minus 2x. That becomes minus 3x and plus x. So I replace 2x with this two number here, and I'm left with what? X squared minus 3x plus x minus 3 is equals to 0. Factorizing, you have x into bracket x minus 3. I have plus 1 into bracket x minus 3 is equals to 0. So what do I have? I have x plus 1 and x minus 3 is equals to 0. So x plus 1 is equals to 0, or x minus 3 is equals to 0. So x is either equals to 1 or x is equals to what? X is equals to 3. Rather, x is equals to minus 1 or x is equals to 3. So that is the intersection point. So what do I need to do now to find the area between both points? Now I need to find the difference between, I need to find the integral using the limits of my integration from integral of what 3 to minus 1 to find the area, and I need to subtract both equations from one another. So from the line, because that comes over here, I'm going to subtract the line, which is 4x plus 16 minus what? Minus 2x squared plus 10 what? Dx. If this doesn't make any sense, I will encourage you to watch my link in the description where I talked about the application of differentiation, and this will make sense. I do not want to spend too much time addressing that now, but the idea is that to find the area, you need to integrate the difference between the two intersecting equations and integrate them over the limit of their intersection point. So the first thing we did was try to find their point of intersection, which we found as what? Minus 1 and 3. So we're going to be integrating over those area and subtracting the equation from one another, and that gives us the area bounded by those curve. So simplifying this now, I have what? Collecting like terms, I have integral from 3 to minus 1. This becomes minus 2x squared, then plus 4x, and I have 16 minus 10, because minus times plus is minus, and I have plus 6 then dx. Now when I integrate this, remember integration of x raised to power n is equals to what? X raised to power n plus 1 over n plus 1. So in this case, the integral of what? Of minus 2x squared is going to be minus 2. Then I'm going to raise the power by 1. 2 plus 1 becomes 3. Then I'm going to divide it by that power plus 3. Then in this case, I'm going to have 4x. This is like x to the power of 1. So 1 plus 1 will be 2. So I have 4x squared divided by 2. Then for the last part, I just need to add x to it plus 6x. And I'm going to be integrating from the bounds of minus 1 and what? And 3. So what does that become? Simplifying this, I have minus 2x squared x cubed over 3. This becomes plus 2x squared plus 6x to bracket 3 and minus 1. So how do I now simplify this? The first thing I need to do is to take the upper limit, to substitute the value of x as 3, then take away, substitute the value of minus 1 here. So substituting the value of x as 3 first, I have minus 2 into bracket 3 cubed divided by 3 plus 2 into bracket 3 squared plus 6 into bracket 3. Then I have to subtract it from the lower limit, which is what I get when I substitute the value of minus 1 for x. So this becomes minus 2 into bracket minus 1 cubed over 3, then plus 2 into bracket minus 1 squared plus 6 into bracket minus 1. So simplifying that further, what do I get? I have this becomes, let's try to just walk through it together. 3 raised power 3 divides the square and changes to a square. So 3 squared is what? Is 9. And 9 times minus 2 is minus 18. So this becomes minus 18. 3 squared is 9 times 2 is 18. Then plus 18. And 6 times 3 is what? 18. So you have minus 18 plus 18 minus 18. And minus the other part becomes minus 1 cube is minus 1, because minus times minus 1 is minus 1. Minus 1 times minus 2 is plus 2. So this becomes 2 over 3. And minus 1 squared is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Then you have plus 2. And finally, you have 6 times minus 1, which becomes minus 6. So when you simplify, this cancels out this, and you're left with what? 18 minus, we have to simplify all what we have over here. And what do we have over here? We can easily just take the LCM. The LCM is going to be 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1 times 2 is 2. 1 divided by 3 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. And 1 minus 1, 3 divided by 1 is 3. 3 times 6 is minus 18. So you have what? Minus 18. So what does this become? This becomes 18 minus 6 plus 2 is 8 minus 18 becomes what? Minus 10. So 18 minus 10 over 3. And that becomes what? 18 minus times minus is plus what? Plus 10 over 3. Again, what is the LCM? The LCM here is 3. 3 divided by 1 is 3 times 18 is 54. And 3 divided by 3 is 1 times 10 is 10. So 54 plus 10 becomes what? 64 over 3. And that makes option D the correct option. Now I know that this might be a handful, and if this is not clear, I encourage you again to watch my tutorial video on finding the area underneath a curve to get a better understanding of this. So moving on to the next question, we are told that the ages of students in a small primary school were recorded in the table below. We are given the age or the range of ages and the frequency. We are told to estimate the mean. Now when you have a group data, because you have a group data, the mean of a group data, the mean is equals to what? The summation of the class mark times what? Times the frequency over the summation of the frequency. Now, what is the class mark? The class mark is just the middle point of this group that I have here. So the group 5 to 6, the class mark is just going to be what lies between 5 and 6. In this case, that is just going to be what? 5 plus 6 divided by 2. 5 plus 6 divided by 2, and that is 11 divided by 2, and that is 5.5. So the class mark here is what? Is 5.5. Let me write that here. So the class mark here is 5.5. Similarly, the class mark here is going to lie between 7 and 8, which is 7.5, and the class mark here is going to lie between 9 and 10, which is what? 9.5, because 9 plus 10 is 19 divided by 2 is 9.5. So we found the class mark. So we know what the frequency is. Now again, the total frequency, so we have to find the product or the sum of the product of the class mark and the frequency. So in this case, the first class mark is going to be what? 5.5, and the frequency 5.5 rather, and the frequency was what? 29. Then plus the second class mark is what? 7.5 times 40, and finally the last class mark is what? 9.5 times 38. Remember, we are multiplying the class mark and the frequency, and we are doing the summation, so we are summing them up. Now divided by what? The summation or the sum of all my frequencies. Now the frequencies that I have here are what? The first one is 29, second one is 40, and the last one is what? 38. So simplifying this, 5.5 times 29 is what? 159.5. 7.5 times 40 is 300, and 9.5 times 38 is what? 316. 361. So we have to divide that by 29 plus 40 plus 38, that is 107. So this invariably becomes, when you sum them up, you get 820.5 divided by 107, and dividing these numbers together, you get 7.668, or approximately what? 7.7, and that makes option A the correct option. And this is how we find the mean for grouped data. So moving on to the next, we are told to find the value of y if the logarithm of open bracket y plus 8 plus y minus 8 is equals to 2 log 3 plus 2 log 5. So the first thing I'm going to do is try to write out the question again, so we can just solve from there. So we have log y plus 8 plus log y minus 8 is equals to 2 log 3 plus 2 log 5. Now I really want to point out two laws of logarithm, as that will help us in our evaluation. Now the first law states that if you have a logarithm of a log b, for example, that is the same thing as writing what? Log b to the power of a. So in this case, 2 log 3 is the same thing as writing what? Log 3 squared, and 2 log 5 is the same thing as writing what? Log 5 squared. Does that make sense? If you do not know the law of logarithm, I encourage you to watch my video, which I've put in the description, to give you a better understanding. And the second law states that when you have log a plus log b is the same thing as saying what? Log of what? A times b. So we can apply both laws to what we have over here. So we can assume that this y plus a is like our a, and this y minus 8 is like our b, and we have a plus in between them. So this just become a one big log, and we're going to multiply the two numbers that we have in between, y plus 8 and what? Y minus 8, and this becomes what? Log 3 squared plus log 5 squared. Now we know that log 3 squared is 9, so this is saying log 9 plus log 25. And again, from our law of logarithm, you know that log 9 plus log 25 is the same thing as saying what? Log 9 times what? 25. So what do we have over here? So we can write what we have over here now, which is what? Log the multiplication of y plus 8 and y minus 8 is equals to what? Log of what? 9 times 25. Now what do we do next? If the log of both, if these numbers are equal, if they are both equal to one another, log of this expression is equal to log of this expression. It means that what is in between the logarithm must be the same, because that is the only way that these two logarithms can be equal. So what does that mean? It means that y plus 8 times y minus 8 must be equals to what? 9 times 25. And what is 9 times 25? 9 times 25 is 2 to 5. Now we can see that this expression is the same thing as what? A difference of 2 square. And what do I mean by difference of 2 square? Remember, difference of 2 square says that if you have x squared minus y squared is the same thing as what? X plus y times what? x minus y. So in this case, we have something that is of the form of x plus y because we have y plus 8 and x minus y because we have y minus 8. So this is the same thing as writing x squared minus y squared, which is going to be what? In this case, y squared minus 8 squared is equals to 225. But if this is not clear, you can also choose to expand normally, and to expand normally just for completeness, let me do that over here and you see we arrive at the same answer. So y plus 8 and y minus 8. So what is y times y? Y times y is y squared. Y times 8 is minus 8y, and 8 times y is plus 8y, and plus 8 times minus 8 is what? Minus 64. So this cancels out this, and I've left it what? Y squared minus 64, and which is what we get here, which is y squared minus 8 squared. We know that a squared is what? 64. So this is the same thing as saying y squared minus 64 is equals to what? 225. So bringing the 64 over here, you have what? Y squared is equals to 225 plus 64, and y squared is equals to what? 289. So when you find the square root, y is going to, the square root of 289 is going to be what? Plus or minus 13, because plus 13 squared will give me 189 and minus 13 squared will also give me 289, and that makes option D. Oh sorry, 289, the square root of 289 is 17, not 13. My bad, apologies. Yeah, so you have plus or minus 17, because 17 times 17 will give me 289, and minus 17 times minus 17 will also give me 289, and that makes option C the correct option. So moving on to question 28, we are told that if a car runs at a constant speed and takes 4.5 hours to run a distance of 2 to 5 kilometers, what time would it take to run 150 kilometers? So the first thing we need to figure out is the speed at which the car is running. And we know that the formula for the speed is equal to the distance over time. Now, we've been told the distance that is covered. We're told that if it covers 2 to 5 kilometers, which is the distance, in 4.5 hours, so we can use that to calculate the speed. So the speed at which this vehicle is moving is 2 to 5 divided by 4.5, and that is what? 50 kilometers per hour. Now, we're told that if it is moving at this speed, how long would it take to cover 150 kilometers? So again, we know that our speed is equal to distance over time. Now we're told to find the time. So we make time the subject of formula. So if we cross multiply, we have time times speed is equals to the distance. And if we divide both sides by the speed, you can see that our time is what? Our time is what? Distance over speed. So in this case now, the distance that is covering is what? 150 kilometers. And we find the speed at which the car is moving is what? 50 kilometers per hour. So the time that this will take will just be 150 divided by 50, and that is what? 3 hours. And that makes option C the correct option. Moving on to question 29, we're told that if A is given as a set of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and B is given as a set of 2, 4, and 6, find A minus B union B minus A. So what does this mean? So what this means plainly, so we're told to find what? A minus B union B minus A. So we'll start by taking it one after the other. So what is A minus B? A minus B means that what numbers are in A but are not found in B. So how do we figure that out? We look at the two sets. So we see that there is a 1 in A but there's no 1 in B. So this is going to be part of it. 1. There's a 2 in A but there's also a 2 in B. So this is not going to be part. There's a 3 in A but no 3 in B. This is going to be part. There's a 4 in A and also a 4 in B. This is not going to be part. There's a 5 in A but no 5 in B. So this is going to be part. And there's a 6 in A and also a 6 in B. So A minus B just means the numbers that are in A but are not found in B. And those numbers are what? 1, 3, and 5. Conversely, B minus A, or in the same light, B minus A means what? The numbers that are found in B but are not found in A. Now, 2 is in B but 2 is also in A. So that's not part. 4 is in B but 4 is also in A. 6 is in B, but 6 is also in A. Now 8 is in B, but 8 is not in A, so B minus A is just going to be 8, because 8 is the only number that you find in the set B, but it's not in the set A. Now, what does the union? So now the question says we should find the union. So that means we should combine both of those sets together. So combining this and this together just gives us the combination of their two sets, and that becomes what? 1, 3, 5, and 8. And that makes option A the correct option. If you have any question, please feel free to drop them in the comments, and I would respond to them as quickly as I can. So moving on to the final question for this part, we are told to evaluate this expression that we have over here. And now this is similar. Now when you look at it, this might look scary to start with, but the first thing I always encourage students is to look at the answer. You can see that most of the answer are in the forms of 2. So it's just about thinking, how can I represent 16? For example, you know that 16 is the same thing as saying 2 to the power of 4. Because 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is going to give me 16. So I can represent 16 as 2 to the power of 4. So doing that, I add 2 to the power of 4 times 0.16. Then times 2 to the power of 4 times 0.04 times 2 to the power of 0.2. So I can multiply the powers over here. So what is 2 times 0.16? That becomes 2 to the power of 0.64 times 2 to the power 4 times 0.04 gives me what? 0.16. Then I have times 2 to the power of 0.2. Now remember from our law of indices, when you have a number a to the power of a to the power of x times a to the power of y times a to the power of z is the same thing as having what? A to the power of x plus y plus z. Because when you have the same base and you're multiplying it, you can just take one of the base and sum up the exponent. So we apply that law over here, and that becomes just the same thing as saying 2 to the power of 0.64 plus 0.16 plus 0.2. Now 0.64 plus 0.16 is 0.8, 0.8 plus 0.2 is 1. So this is the same thing as saying 2 to the power of 1, and that is the same thing as saying 2, making the correct option to this question A. Now, if you're not familiar with the law of indices, I've also included a link in the description that explores this topic. And that brings us to the end of our part 3 for the JAMB Mathematics Past Question for 2023. Remember, if you have any question, drop them in the comments, and do not forget to subscribe and also give this video a like so I can produce more of this useful content to you. Now, see you in the fourth part. Bye for now.